panel, we have Mr. Abhishek Singh, who is an IAS of 1995, that and CEO of DPI AI. Then Mr. Kumar Bhardwaj, who is the CEO of National Health Authority and he is a 1997 grad IAS officer. Then we have our panelist, Mr. Sumit Bhatnagar. He is the CEO of Freecharge and an alumni of IIT Roorkee 1998 batch. So with this, I would like to start this panel. So we all know that around the world, AI is reshaping economies. And today's panel brings together leaders who are not only thinking about AI, but deploying it at population scale across governance, healthcare, fintech, and state administrations. So we'll keep this conversation accessible and practice oriented, anchored in your experience of designing and running large systems, delivering citizen services, and safeguarding trust. So, sir, my first question is with you, Mr. Readiness. So, sir, like deploying AI at population scale is very different from enterprise pilots. And drawing on your experience with large-scale digital public systems, may I request you to like reflect on what fundamentally changes when a technology initiative moves from pilot to population scale and serves hundreds and millions of citizens?
See, whether it's artificial intelligence or any tech product or digital transformation initiative, if it has to scale up, if we have to deploy it at population scale, number one, it needs to be designed in such a way that it solves a felt problem. We're solving a problem statement that it scales up very rapidly. For example, if you look at why is WhatsApp so commonly used, they're very simple to use. It solves the problem of ensuring seamless communications at almost no cost to the end user. So it scaled up very rapidly in India without doing any high-end marketing for getting it adopted. Similarly, if you look at UPI when it was introduced because it allowed people to do digital transactions very seamlessly, clicking a QR code, transferring money, even low values without any charge associated to that, people could do that. People who would never get a credit card, debit card because of the systems, complicated systems are there, they could do digital transactions without having to remember a IFSC codes or SWIFT codes or something. So again, the simplicity in design, solving the problem of fund transfer, ensure this could scale up. So when it comes to AI, similar things will come in place. For example, AI is being used in India extensively for ensuring services in all languages, enabling voice-enabled services. So if people are able to find, for example, if a farmer has to get the price of a particular commodity in a mandi, he can go to the eNaam website and do that, or download an app and do that. But how many farmers will actually be able to do that? They will not be, but it's not easy to type in the regional languages on a browser or on a website or even to navigate a CAPTCHA. But if the AI, the voice-enabled service with projects like Bhashini, they enable a farmer to either speak to a smartphone or use a feature phone to call a toll-free number and give a voice query, ki Agre mein bajre ki कीमत क्या है? Agre mandi mein. And if we get the reply back with the speech-to-text API, the text getting to a Gen AI engine, answer be coming and again the output coming in voice, that will be adopted. If we design it to solve a use case and which is very simple to use and implement, then it will get scaled up. So that's what we are trying to do on the India AI mission to solve for India, not bothered about the artificial general intelligence or the state-of-the-art models, but have a basic 120 billion parameter model which can be adapted for use cases that people are looking for, and that's how it will help it in scaling it up.
Okay, so basically like solving some critical problems and making it accessible to common man.
Correct.
Making it more familiar to them. It's not like a buzzword for them.
See, today, in fact, when we look at the digital economy and we look at the online world, almost 900 million people we always see are connected and they are accessing online services, they have internet access and all. But when we see that, we are also saying that 500 million people are not connected. We are 1.4 billion people. So to get these 500 million people onto the digital space, for them to become part of the digital economy, for them to benefit by using these tools, for them to bring in efficiency, productivity in their work, whether they are a farmer or whether they are a small businessman or a retailer or an MSME, we will need to build these AI-enabled tools. And that would kind of power the digital public infrastructure that we have built in And I kind of think of AI will exponentially raise the capability of India's stack and DPI to reach to more people and offer accessible, affordable services. And figuratively and literally, I visualize the DPI raised to the power of AI. Just like X cube makes it Q exponential, similarly DPI raised with the power of AI will make it more accessible to more people across the country.
Right. So, like it's a scale that we are taking this initiatives. How would you describe success in such initiatives from a citizen's perspective? Like, just as like your perspective, like you're saying, it should be accessible. But this is like we are making these policies or try to achieve it. But what that particular thing that make it a success, actual success in citizens?
Ultimately, usage. If more and more people start using it, for example, if more farmers start using it, if we are building an AI application for diagnosing tuberculosis, wherein the looking at X-ray images, you can diagnose tuberculosis. If we are able to deploy it in every hospital, every primary health center or community health center, which has an X-ray machine but does not have a qualified radiologist, if we can deploy it across the country at scale, it will be a measure of success. If we build up an AI tutor which can explain Pythagoras theorem or Archimedes principle in a local language anywhere in the country, more so in the remote corners, where I have worked in, say, a district called Kifre in Netherlands. If the student there can use these AI assistants to learn about basic scientific mathematical concepts in their mother tongue, keep the query. If we're able to deploy at scale, if we have hundreds of millions of people using this, that will be called success.
Okay, let's go. So one last thing, in continuation to this, how will you like do this upcoming initiative like Impact Care Summary about to come is aiding the creation of these services? Is there like really?
See, the Impact Summit is an opportunity where the whole world is coming in, not only almost 15 to 20 heads of government and 50, 60 ministers, but all the top CEOs, whether it's Jensen Huang or Sam Altman or Sundar Pichai or Dario or Bill Gates, all the top CEOs from the top companies are coming. The top professors from academic institutions like Professor Feifei Lee from Stanford or Yeshua Mengio, Jan LeCun, Professor Raj Reddy from Carnegie Mellon, all of them will be in India, along with the industry leaders, startups, and all. That forum, it will be an opportunity for Indian companies, Indian startups, to showcase solutions and products to the whole world. And if we can demonstrate these use cases in agriculture, education, healthcare, which have been deployed at scale, then it will also be an opportunity for us to show this capability to the country, the global south, so that it can be adopted. And will create a business opportunity for Indian companies and startups for deploying AI solutions across the world and become a prime provider of AI transformation services, just like our IT companies have been providing IT services to the whole world.
Right. Right. So, like you're talking on about the population scale, and then when we talk about population scale, automatically healthcare comes into the picture. So, on that note, my next question is to Mr. Sunil Kumar Banwal, sir. So, looking back at national health initiatives you have led, can you share one example where digital systems truly moved the needle, improved outcomes at scale, and what made them possible?
Let me tell you, National Health Authority implements two major schemes of government of India. One is Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Many of you may be aware, here we provide to bottom 40% of the population a health coverage of 5 lakh rupees. See, we could have run this scheme without the digital system also. We have been running CGHS, EGSH, and many other government of India health coverage schemes. But the biggest advantage of AMJ was the digital platform it created. You see, not at a single point there is anything other than digital in the whole patient journey to the claim processing and the payment to the hospitals. So this whole digital system was made to implement this scheme. The advantage of this was this is such a scalable model. Now we can run any other government of India program for health coverage on this platform. And this is how Besides the BMJ scheme, which covers around 12 crore families in the country, another 8 crore have been added to it by different state government schemes. So the biggest advantage of the digital system is it allows you to scale up to any extent. So that was the biggest advantage we got in PMJ scheme. Second important benefits we got in was the creation of huge digital data about the treatments, about the health histories of people. Now, based on these data, where we have around 11 crore patients, treatment details, by anonymizing this data, we can create a huge models, machine learning models, AI models, based on which we can actually predict disease. Now it is possible to have preventive care much more effective by predicting disease, making disease mapping of the whole country. We can actually do the heat map of whole geography of the country by actually plotting which disease is prevalent in which area, which age group, which sex, and what kind of community. So this kind of possibility has come only because of the digital system. So this is the live example, and I think it's the world's largest government-funded health assurance scheme. And if it is so successful, it shows a big model, successful model for the whole world in healthcare.
So, sir, from like public interest standpoint, what is the primary risk we must remain attentive to as AI enters health systems?
Yeah. So now I'll come to the second scheme, which is very important, Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission. And the digital mission talks of a open, interoperable platform on which any system can talk to each other. Today, the biggest problem in the healthcare delivery is it is highly fragmented, completely unstructured, and if at all we are creating electronic data, it is lying inside. So this digital mission actually breaks down all this fragmentation, and by which actually we create a seamless interconnection between different systems which are creating electronic records. So a patient goes to one hospital, gets his electronic health record, goes to another hospital, he or she can easily share the previous record. And over a period of time, every individual will have his whole health history, which will not only empower him or her, will also actually make him make some assessment for the future. So, if he is getting a lab report over a period of every year interval, maybe in next 5 years, 6 years, he or she can predict what kind of problems he or she is likely to have, and therefore can be consequential. But more than that, the biggest problem and advantage with the system was we have created a digital public infrastructure where the privacy is based by design, sharing of records is with the express consent, and everything can be traced and identified if there is any breach. And more than that, the data which is there, it is only in the federated architecture. So the data is not at all at a centralized, it is all with the hospital and with the so in future, any AI tool we develop, it can access the data, but it will not work on a centralized data. So what advantage we are getting is the data is with the hospital, but we have the address to that data. So tomorrow we apply a AI tool, we just take the consent of the hospital to test the AI tool. And it is very important because whatever AI tool we develop in health sector, unless it is tested in a real data and more so on Indian data, on diverse Indian pool, it will not be a successful AI tool in Indian context. So even if we have many AI tool in the health sector, in Indian context, it may completely give a misleading results, and therefore we are actually we have created a system where a new AI tool can be tested in a federated data architecture without actually accessing the central pool of data. And there is no central pool of data. So this kind of advantage is there. The challenge we have, and we have actually incorporated in this system, is to keep data federated, to have privacy by design. Any sharing of data is only with the express consent, and everything is properly audited and traced through the system. So this side of advantage with the system actually helped to build many bigger solutions on Indian data systems. So this is a big advantage. In this concern, I would like to mention we are also developing a AI tool testing platform with IIT Kanpur, where any AI tool, whoever develops it, wants to test in a Indian data set, actually they can be tested on that platform. And then it can be easily benchmarked that whether this tool is relevant, not relevant, or very good or bad. Because unless we benchmark, in the time to come, we will get many AI tools predicting diabetes, predicting hypertension, predicting many more disease. But these all tools may not be right tools in Indian context unless it is tested, benchmarked, and therefore this platform will be very useful. And this platform will not be holding any data. They will be testing only on a federated data structure, which has been created through the Ayushman Bharat digital mission. So I think the AI is a big enabler, but at the same time, since the system has been made in such a robust fashion, this can be used for betterment of students.
Right, sir. So there's a good amount of preparedness that is there on ground, like the data preparedness there, and some testing systems are in place. So that's a great thing to hear about. So, like as we are talking about India's AI journey, it cannot be complete. It cannot be government only. And on that note, I move to Sumit sir. So, Sumit sir, my question to you is: how should public and private sectors collaborate to scale AI responsibly for economic growth?
So, good morning, everyone, and thank you everyone for inviting us there. And these are stalwarts here, so they are doing a great work. For us, the government is already doing a lot as far as the way we see it. The National AI Mission is investing 10,000 crores. It is doing a lot in terms of giving out data, giving out sandboxes, and everything else. There are some really good things which government is also doing is, for example, I was just studying what they're doing it for drones, right? So you have not for AI mission, but the other part where you're saying that if you develop some startup which is giving out drones, we will also give you an order. I think that is where the business comes into picture. Government is one thing is that they can provide you infrastructure, but where does the money come from? If I'm an investor sitting in, or if I'm a company sitting in, what I'm really interested is that if there is a solution that is coming in, who is giving me the money to build it and then sustainably develop it and use it, right? So if we can also merge it with the fact that if you develop some particular use cases and the next project will go out to a company which is developing under this mission, then that really creates a lot of value. I'm not saying that's not being done, that's being done per se, but that is something that is very important from an industry perspective. How do you carry out that in the industry? From our industry also, we are all here from government and private segment as well. I think have to also take a conscious choice. There will always be large companies brought up by other countries which are doing a very good job. But we have to pick and choose and also try to give work to people who are coming from startups and ensure that unless they work on our real data, not just on anonymized data, but if we give them that opportunity to work on our data and give them that solution, then those companies will also rise. So it is our responsibility as a industry segment that we give those opportunities to those startups and help them grow. So that is definitely there. I think this data initiative is great. And as we travel to a lot of countries, and I can tell you why they have done great work with data, but we have done amazing work with digital growth, right? So when COVID was there, everybody was carrying their, other countries were carrying certificates on paper. We were carrying our on it on a mobile app, right? And we were just amazed on how they were just carrying a scribbled paper to say that, oh, I am vaccinated, right? So we are way ahead in terms of digital growth, and all kudos to the government there for allowing the the partnerships to be sustained and not squeezing that regulation too tight at that moment of time. I think AI currently is at a stage which is still developing for us, and if we give us enough impetus to continue to experiment, try it out, and give each other guaranteed work, I would say, then it will grow. And for us, that's what we are doing. We are trying to find out alternatives which are homegrown. And Professor Pant actually said everything in his speech. I think what we are trying to do. If we continue to do that, I think we are well poised. We have the people, we have the knowledge, we have the money, we have the government support. I think it's how we make the business sense out of it is very important. So for us, whatever makes business sense, it will grow.
So our next panelist is who just joined us. I would like to briefly introduce him, Mr. Manish Bhardwaj. He is he's the Secretary of the National Disaster Management Authority and IAS of 1997 batch. My question to you, sir, when nation building is also busy. So in that context, the disaster landscape, especially in mountainous regions, is evolving rapidly with more frequent extreme rainfall, cascading hazards, and limited decision time. In such high stakes public systems, how can technology based decision support strengthen preparedness, continuity, and public trust without creating new risks or over dependency on technology?
So in the mountainous regions, particularly the Himalayan states, we have seen that hyperlocal events are taking place at a very short notice. So, and they are also leading to a cascading form of the catastrophe, say the cloudburst leading to landslides or to flash floods, which causes infrastructure losses or complete, absence of infrastructure in terms of communication lines go down. So such kind of hyperlocal events are happening in the country, leading to loss of lives as well as to economic losses. Now, in such a scenario, there is a rapid need for integrating technology and going in for basically hyperlocal alerts and also to venture more into the realm of predictive forecasting and nowcasting. Now, this is where AI definitely can play a lot of role. We have seen that we receive tremendous amounts of data from satellite, from the ground-based sensors, the radars. So these need to be picked up and to be deployed for effective solutions at the district level. This is where we can really give a heads up to the local population in terms of preventing loss of lives. That is the earliest and easiest deployable aspect of AI in disaster management. And eventually, this will help us in making a resilient economy wherein by any mitigation measures, because AI, we also have a lot of hazard maps. The hazard atlas of a particular area is there. So we can definitely identify each and every geography of this country, map it on the vulnerability, the analysis and the hazard analysis can take place. And then in the event of a disaster, coupling it with the predictive forecasting, we can prevent even, we can safeguard our economic properties as well.
So now on this note, this is a single question I'll be throwing, and I'll be expecting a different perspective from our panelists. So this question is AI adoption often outpaces institutional readiness. So on that front, what capabilities must government build, that's policy, talent, data, or governance, to make AI sustainable for nation building? So I'll go one by one.
The biggest thing that is required, the ingredient for building any AI model or application is data. And the fact remains that across government departments, there's a lot of data, but very often, most of the data that is there do not follow data standards, metadata standards. Sometimes the data is there, but it's not complete, either in the sense of time series data or geographical spread of data. Sometimes data is there, but it's not shareable. There are no policies which require whether I can share the data with even a fellow government entity. In fact, very often state governments complain that all our data, whether it's ICDS, Anganwadi data, or ASHA workers' health data, or ration card PDS data, where data is collected from grounds up. When the source of the data, owner of the data technically is the state government. But when it comes to a central platform, the same data is to be shared back, we kind of say no. And very often it is because of lack of data capacity and the fear of something going wrong. We don't know what will go wrong, but if दे दिया अगर कुछ गलत हो गया तो who will be responsible? So because of that we don't do. So lack of data capacity becomes a big problem. Like there are no, we do designate officers as chief data officers, but they don't have data analysts, data scientists who can analyze what is a high value data, how to write APIs to make the data shareable, how to define policies with regard to what data sets can be in the open domain, what data sets can be restricted, licensed, can data be monetized? So because of these open-ended questions, sometimes data sharing becomes a big problem which limits adoption of AI. So what we are trying to do in the India AI mission is that we have set up a platform called AI Kosh that is becoming an India datasets platform. And on that platform, we are enabling sharing of data from across government departments. We are also providing data scientists and data curation units within the departments who can support the statistical officers or the data officers in identifying data sets, in writing APIs, in making it available, in defining the policies with regard to how it can be shared, how it cannot be shared. We are also providing anonymization tools and privacy preservation tools on the platform so that if there are any data sets which have got personally identifiable attributes, and sharing that can become a violation of the DPDP Act. So how to use these tools to anonymize data, how to make it shareable, how to define that. So AI mission is trying to provide that. So that issue, if we are able to tackle, along with, of course, other requirements of compute and having capability to write AI applications, even writing a simple bot. Very often we don't have capacity within the government. The NIC is trying to solve that problem to some extent. But if I have to identify one key challenge, that's making data available, accessible, and usable for those who need it to design AI applications and train AI models.
I'll add another dimension because NHA sits on a huge data of the patient. The biggest challenge we face, we don't have capacity to analyze the data, make intelligence out of it, and therefore I see huge capacity constraint in handling data. First of all, what Abhishek said is right, that we have data in a very different and many a times unstructured form. But now there are tools by which we can make unstructured data to at least semi-structured data and maybe later to structured data. So what I see is the biggest challenge is the capacity on developing tools to read the unstructured data and develop intelligence out of it. And therefore, in NHA, we have actually recently started two units. One for health data analytics and AI unit, which is actually to work on this 110 million data which we have, and it is varied from across the country. And second, which we realize that we have to develop the capacity in this country to develop foundational models. We just can't be the user of it. And therefore, health data, which will be the huge and probably the biggest in in the world, if we don't have our own foundational models on these data, probably we'll be lagging behind. And therefore, we have started NHA Digital Academy. We'll be tying up with premier institutions where we deliver the courses, we support them, identify the talent who work in the digital health field and work on our data and make intelligence out of it, develop some of the models. And these models can, of course, be tested on a varied data which either is with us or with many of our institutions too. So these two I see is the constraint if we really want to leverage AI to the best in our Indian context. Thank you.
Okay, so as you move across the panel, you will always see one or the other example coming out which says that no one single bullet is going to solve for this, right? I think data is very important, as you said, because we do not have that data access and we do not have the quality data access which other countries are supposedly having, right? Uh, and the other piece is the infra, which is the infra which is already being developed, which says that if you do not have enough GPUs and at a low cost, the startups and small organizations will never be able to even compete with anything which is large. So that is also already covered under the AI mission. And I believe that that's work under progress all the time. I think what I can again come back to is if we have very good use cases coming out from industry or the government, which says that this is what we are ready to invest in and pay for, that is when, as investors, as startups, we will go out as well. So, if you already say that this is a solution that I need to develop, and it could be not just healthcare, it could be defense, it could be education, it could be anything, right? So automatically startups will come there and fill in all the effort, and they have all the expertise there, and we have great brains at Roorkee also. So there are people who come from 2024 batch, 25 batch, 23 batch, who have started making great AI-based systems, and we are starting to use them as well. Because you give them a particular use case. As soon as you say that this is the use case that we want, this is the data set that I will give it to you, this is the money I will give it to you, automatically it will come. So for me, AI mission already covers everything from a tenant's perspective. It is only about pitching it to the right audience and giving them enough to run through it.
According to me, the basic framework has been set by the DPI AI mission, as Abhishek has already clearly explained. And what, from my perspective, I look at it that it offers, what Sunil was also referring, that as an opportunity to set up real foundational DPGs in India. So you see, this is where AI can actually accelerate the process of setting up a digital public code. As far as I look at the realm of disaster management, you see there is no real public DBG available here. So predictive forecasting, nowcasting for all kinds of disasters through the help of startups is a very much feasible and doable DPG. In NDMA, we are going to set up the National Disaster Database, wherein we are going, because we have host of data coming from satellite, as I mentioned, satellite, ground-based radars, sensors, AWGs, automatic weather stations, rain gauges. There are plethora of alert generating agencies in this country, like the IMD, the National Remote Sensing Organization, and you name it, Central Water Commission. So every entity is keeping the data to itself. Now, using that the platform and enabling the startups to create hyperlocal DPG is very much doable. So I look at it as an opportunity now, which AI can definitely bring in. So NDMA, from NDMA's perspective, we are wanting to roll it out, and we want to invite the startups who are interested in this domain to help us develop this DPG. So I take it not as a constraint, but really as an opportunity.
Okay, so with this, I would open the panel for audience questions. Please keep your questions concise and indicate which panelists you would like to address. Any questions in audience?
I'm from Earth Science Department, 89 batch, and now I am Tech Mahindra. I am AI champion, upstream oil and gas. So I want to know, like, so many. I have two questions. Like, the first thing is, what is your opinion on including private companies like Tech Mahindra, CS, and all this in your AI initiatives? Because certain things that say can be done by us in like no time. Maybe 1 month you want to develop a chatbot. Yeah. Yeah. You want to go into agentic AI. Yes. Companies like Amazon and others come to us who support our use case free of charge. Compute is free. Whatever you want, will give you what they want, the IITR and the revenue share. That is all. That is one part, which is the private public partnership. Second is for so I am Bengali and will find up type 2 diabetes. So what has AI done? I'm sorry, I could understand from your gesture. So can you connect like the biometrics with the genetics so that we can say that yes, these guys are suspect for type diabetes?
See, number one, to the question of private sector being involved, yes, private sector is totally involved. In fact, the 12 initiatives that we are supporting for building Indian foundation models, majority of them are private sectors. And incidentally, one of them is Tech Mahindra. And the Tech Mahindra is trying to build up an agentic AI platform. And the kind of funding that they sought from the government was also was not huge. In fact, they were looking at less than 10 crores of government funding support to build up an agentic AI platform. And when Mr. Nikhil Malhotra made that presentation, my question to him was, why could Indian IT industry not invest that much? So it is definitely when the government scheme of things, whether it's Sarvam AI or Fractal, who is building models, or IntelliHealth, or GenLoop, or GAN AI, Gyani AI, all of these are private initiatives with which we are working for building tech platforms. But again, we should not kind of trivialize things that it can be done within a month. It's not just simply using an existing LLM and trying to build a wrapper around it and building a chatbot. That is not what we are trying to do. We are trying to train Indian models from scratch, from Indian data sets, and that requires effort, that requires compute, as was mentioned, that requires data, and that requires testing, that requires ensuring that the responses it gives are responsible, ethical, and useful. So that is what is being done. Yes, private sector is most welcome to join all our initiatives. In the startup challenges that we are doing, in fact, we throw open a problem statement, starters build it, and we give a contract for deploying that solution. There also private sector and startups are as actively involved as others. With regard to the second question, with regard to building the solutions for diagnosing diseases like diabetes and others using gene mapping and all, yeah, that is again an area of research in which many researchers, AI experts are working on it. In fact, one of the solutions that we are supporting in the building a small language model in the health sector is again using data of EEGs, the electrocardiograms, to detect epileptic onset of epilepsy as also Alzheimer's disease. Similarly, there are initiatives in the fields like detecting cataract, detecting breast cancer, detecting diabetes. But again, it's not as simple as it sounds. There are researchers across the world who are building towards it. And once these solutions are developed, then they go through a very stringent testing system mechanism, because healthcare is something which is very sensitive. We can't afford to have a mistake. In normal sense, we can say that hallucination or AI has done a mistake. But when it comes to health sector, I'm sure Sunil would agree, is that the scope for making any mistakes in a health sector is much lesser compared to anywhere else.
Just to add, in healthcare, we can use AI only to support decision. They can't be made responsible for decision, and therefore it can't replace the responsibility, which will still be with the clinical professionals. And therefore, what Abhishek was saying is right, that we can use AI and rather develop tools and test it on Indian data and make it more and more accurate. But it will be still used for a screening purpose, not for the treatment which doctor will have to provide. So that is how it is going to be.
If I may add, yes, definitely, private sector has a lot of role to play. This is the being work will be the responsibility will definitely go to the private sector to develop, use cases and to develop the necessary platforms. But I fully agree with my panelists that the training on the Indian data sets needs to be very thorough, and credible product has to be developed. There has to be a limit of trust and responsibility should be it should be a responsible solution, so that because it can be then only be deployed in the public domain. And yes, any AI tool will not be an alternative to accountability. So accountability will definitely lie in the human leadership. But yes, we can definitely provide for that technical enablement to which is dovetailed on the Indian data sets to have a credible supporting framework for the government or the public policy problem.
Thank you. So today's discussion makes one thing clear. AI is not just a technology choice for India. It is a nation building instrument. Its success will depend not only on algorithms, but on institutions, trust, and leadership. Thank you, our distinguished panelists, and all of you for being part of this important conversation. Thank you so much. Thank you.